Hello world! Welcome to my kitchen. It's Louie and Piket. And I am making a cake for dessert tomorrow for Sunday for, well, me and my parents mostly. And I'm softening my butter. Hold on here. If you do it about 5 or 6 seconds at a time in the microwave, you can do it without totally ruining it. So what I'm doing here, I titled my recipe Experiment because I came up with this myself. I didn't come up with the actual recipe, but this idea. That I'm going to try to make a yellow cake. You could make it a white cake if you use egg whites, but kind of yellowish white cake. And have a raspberry jam filling with some cream cheese glaze, because I don't want a whole lot of frosting on it, because I'm trying to cut down the sugar for my mother. So, I'm going to, I'm not sure I got all this over here. I do. I'm going to use this cake recipe that's called the best chocolate cake, because it really is the best chocolate cake. And I'm going to see if that I found so far. I'm going to see if I can make it into the best vanilla, the best vanilla cake. Can I do it? I don't know, but I'm going to try. So I'm going to just, so what you do, what I've heard that you can do, is you leave out the cocoa, instead of just like, you replace the cocoa with more flour. So you still have the ratio right. So that's what I'm going to try to do. And I'm also not, and this is a cake that just uses oil, vegetable oil, but I'm going to replace some of the vegetable oil with butter so it gives it more flavor. And I've heard you can do that too, that you can do like half butter, half oil. And I'm looking for my other oil. Where would that be? I know I had one. And I don't see it now. Oh. I emptied one, but I had another one. Where did I put that? Hold on. While I scout out where my oil went. Did I put it away? I can't find it if I put it away. If I left it out, I could find it. That's what happens when I start putting stuff away. I can never figure out where did I put it. You would think I would have put it over here in the cabinet, right? Okay, I think I'm going to use my other oil because I can't find the vegetable oil, so I'm going to use the coconut oil. But I have a whole container of vegetable, it's canola oil. I have that somewhere. Is it there? No. I'm about to create an avalanche here, that I'm trying to not have that happen right now. Okay, so let me look over here again real quick. Hello, hello, hello. So let's let the experiment begin. So I'm trying to make this become a good vanilla cake recipe. So let me get this oil over here. We'll just use this one. I know we can use that. Okay, so let me see what I need to do different with this though. Eggs. Let's see, we're going to combine the sugar, flour, cocoa, bacon. Okay, we're going to, since I'm going to use part butter, we're actually going to cream the butter and sugar and oil, which added in a different order when you're not using butter, but I'm doing part butter, part oil, so we're going to try that. So what I need is, let's move this over here. There, you can see. So I'm going to, and I'm cutting this in half, and I just did this whole thing wrong here. Oh well, I caught it, so I'll go it right. I rewrote this so I could do it right, and I still rewrote it wrong since I'm doing half. So I want a cup of sugar. That is correct. A cup of sugar. I'm going to get my knife to level this off. A cup of sugar. Into our bowl. Again, this is only going to make one layer. So if you want a 9 by 13 cake or a double layer cake, then just double everything. But I don't want a whole lot of dessert because we're all trying to cut down a little bit. And I'll make something different for next week. So there's my sugar. So then I'm going to add the butter. Okay, so normally the recipe would call for a 1/4 cup, or it would be 4 tablespoons of oil. So I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of butter and 2 tablespoons of oil. So we're going to make it like half and half. So there's the 2 tablespoons of butter. Let me get the 2 tablespoons of oil here. Let me get my 2 tablespoon measure here. Okay. Put in our 2 tablespoons. This is a 2 tablespoon measuring spoon. Okay, there we go. Put that in. Now, like I said, I'm modifying this chocolate cake recipe to be vanilla, and I have no idea how this is going to work. I'm hoping it's going to work out, and probably won't know until tomorrow. Well, I'll know if it looks like cake anyway. All right, so let's try that. So let's mix this together in our bowl right here. There we go. Turn that on. So we're creaming our butter, oil, and sugar together. Okay, so there's that. Then I'm going to put 1 egg. Half the recipe calls for 1 egg. I'll put this here. This egg does not want to crack. That's a tough egg. Okay, so there we go. Put that in there. All right. Get rid of my shell. Then let's blend that also in the bowl. So there we have, hello again. So I am trying to make a cake, and I am taking my chocolate cake recipe that I like. It's called the best chocolate cake recipe. I'm trying to turn it into the best vanilla cake. I don't want chocolate. This time I'm going to make a vanilla cake with raspberry jam filling and a little bit of cream cheese glaze instead of frosting. So this will be like, this is totally new. Like, I've never made any of this exactly like this before, so that's why I named it Experiment. Okay, so now that we have that done, now we're going to add, let me think how I think I just want to go ahead and add, what is this? How does it say to do this way? Sugar, flour, cocoa, baking soda, salt. Okay, this has you add all the wet ingredients and then put... No, it has you do mix dry ingredients, still combined, then you add the wet. All right, let's try it this way. Okay, so then we're going to need, it asks for 1/2 cup of buttermilk. I don't have buttermilk, so instead of buttermilk, if you don't have buttermilk, you get regular milk and turn it into sour milk, which will do the same thing as buttermilk. So how you make it sour milk is you use, like, this is 1/2 cup of regular milk, so you add 1/2 teaspoon of vinegar, of white vinegar, and then that will, like, turn it into sour milk, which will do the same thing. Now let's stir it. Okay, there's that. And I'm also going to need some water. So the chocolate cake recipe actually calls for coffee. Well, I don't want coffee cake, so I'm just going to add water. So we need 1/2 cup of water. So I'm going to add 1/2 cup of water. I'm just going to add it on top of this milk. So it'll be total of 1 cup. So I have 1/2 cup of milk, 1/2 cup of water. Okay. And then I'm going to add the vanilla, which will be 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Okay, let me turn this back to my bowl. Put the wet in. There you go. Oh, that's going to be real soupy right now. This is how it says do it. So it actually tells you to put the dry in, but since I had to cream the butter, since I used butter, I guess I could have melted the butter, but that might have done it different. And yeah, I'm just really winging this here. All right, so we're going to add, I'm actually going to put 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla because I want a little extra, because I want to make sure we have some good flavor in this. Since there's no chocolate, we got to have something else. So let's, instead of 1 teaspoon, let's do 1.5 teaspoons. Oh, that was probably 1.75 teaspoons. That's okay, though. It will be fine. All right, so there's those. All right, let's dry that off. Then let's mix that a little bit. Yeah, this is like going to be the weirdest way to mix a cake I've ever seen. Okay, so we have that. Then we're going to add our dry ingredients. Let me do this over here. So for our dry ingredients, we're going to have, let's see, 1 1/4 cups plus a tablespoon of flour. Yes, I did not invent that. I didn't make that part up. So that's what you would normally have. So instead of the cocoa, you just add more flour. So that's a combination of the amounts of flour and cocoa in this. So here's a cup of flour. So let me measure that. So here's a cup of flour. I hope this turns out. And then a 1/4 cup of flour. More. I really have no idea. You know, if it looks like cake batter when I get done, then we're probably okay. There's a 1/4 cup. Then we need 1 more tablespoon of flour. Is that my tablespoon? That's my tablespoon. Okay. Oops, that was totally wrong. There we go. Tablespoon more. Okay, so that's the equivalent of what would be the amounts of flour and cocoa. Then I'm going to add a teaspoon of baking soda. Look at that, baking. Let me turn this over here, you can see. I still don't think you can see. There we go. Teaspoon of baking soda. Yeah, teaspoon. Then we're going to have a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. And this is a wet spoon. Hold on, let me get that dry. There we go. 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. Then we're going to have 1/2 teaspoon of salt. So we're hoping this is going to be a nice moist vanilla cake. That's what we're hoping for. All right, let me get some of this salt. Ah! Try to get a 1/2 teaspoon of it here. I've got more, seriously, I have more rice in this than salt. Let me dump that back in to my container. See if I can, oh, I got a piece of rice in there anyway. Get a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Here we go. Put it back through my strainer. That in there. There we go. Then we're going to have, put all that back together. Okay, so we got sugar, flour, soda, powder, salt, egg, buttermilk, water, butter, oil, and vanilla. Okay, we're good. So let's mix and see what happens here. Please look like cake batter when we're done. And it will be a little bit runny because the chocolate, because it has water and oil. So if it's a little runny, it'll be fine. This is just going to be lumpy, isn't it? Because of the way it mixed. Well, we'll just beat it. Does look like cake batter. Lumpy cake batter. Let's see if I can get the whisk to beat some of those out. Probably should have done this a different way, but since I'm modifying the recipe, maybe I should have tried mixing it a different way. So let's put the whisk in there and see what happens. Sorry, I'm bumping you here. There's lumps on the side that aren't going down. There we go. Okay, I think that's as good as we're going to get it there. All right, so again, I'm only making 1 layer so we can see how this turns out. All right, there we go. So now I'm going to get my pan. And this is just a round 9-inch pan, which is what the recipe tells you to do. Here is my recipe. And that is Tipsy. I bought this thing so this wouldn't happen, and as you see, I was not successful with that at all. Okay, so let's put some spray in here. And then I'm going to put some either parchment paper. This is like dry wax paper, actually. This is how I never get anything to stick. Now, if you're going to leave it in the pan and serve it in the pan, you don't probably have to be that concerned. But I'm going to put like a jam filling in it, I hope. I hope we get to that point. That's what I'm going to try to do. All right, so let me get my batter. This is totally going to be in the way here. All right. All right, stay up now. Okay, let me get my scraper. As I said, this will be a runny batter, but so is the chocolate cake recipe, so it should still be all right. We're going to find out. Then we're going to bake it at 350. This size pan, I think I said 30 to 35 minutes. And then after it comes out and cools, and I have determined it is not a total disaster, I'm going to try to make it raspberry jam filled with a cream cheese glaze, which I've also never made. Never made a cream cheese glaze, but it shouldn't be like as much sugar that way. Pop the bubbles out that way. Okay, it looks like cake batter, right? Let's see what happens. Yes, indeed. It's a scary moment here. 30 minutes, let's try that. All right, and there we go. And I'm gonna wash my bowl. And we will come back a little bit later and see how that turned out and see if it cools enough to put, you know, the rest together. So thank you for watching and have a very good evening. Bye.